Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Minister of Health offers his resignation from Cabinet. We've got the story. Liquor stores throughout the country allowed to operate. Plus, why realtors are up in arms.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Amid controversy over the decision to allow Americans to disembark a plane carrying donated test swabs, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sand sent a resignation letter to Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis this evening. The letter reads, "Dear Prime Minister, I refer to the unfortunate controversy surrounding the delivery of COVID-19 test swabs and the landing of permanent residents under what you have termed a breach of protocol regulating the entry to the Bahamas by Bahamian citizens and permanent residents under emergency regulations. I accept responsibility for this breach of protocol. I acknowledge that I acted outside of the scope of my authority in this matter. My actions were guided by my great desire to obtain the much-needed testing swabs, which are in short supply both here and internationally, and which are key to our efforts to trace the spread of the coronavirus so as to better focus our responses. I acted at all times in good faith. Nevertheless, I acknowledge that my actions have caused embarrassment for which I express sincere regret. We continue in the midst of a most serious pandemic when focused attention should be trained only on how best the spread of COVID-19 might be slowed and eventually stopped. I believe that my continued presence in the Cabinet may serve as a distraction from our effort, and hence I offer my resignation from your Cabinet." There was no confirmation on whether the Prime Minister accepted his resignation up to news time. Well, it was back to business for liquor stores all across the country today, as many of them resumed business, but only through delivery and curbside services.
But I'm glad the government finally decided to open up these liquor stores because, when you're home for a long period of time, you need to have some spirits.
Outside Base Road Liquor Store on Nassau Street, we met JJ at the front of the line to pick up his order of gin.
I really don't drink beers. I just want some gin, so I can make the Bahamian tradition, coconut water and gin.
The liquor store was buzzing with activity as they began taking orders and making deliveries. Some patrons came with a list, but were informed they had to order ahead, as per the guidelines.
Place your order right there. 325, 3135.
And the cases of beer went flying from hand to hand as trucks were offloaded and packed up. Base Road owner George Robinson Jr. said his goal was to just abide by the rules.
So we are processing them on a one-one basis. They have to do the social distancing. If they're impatient, they can't wait, then they just leave. But we are not allowing anyone into the store. The order must be placed.
Robinson said it's been a trying few months as he still kept up with paying his staff, but the days will be very busy for the many liquor stores throughout the country. For 700 wines and spirits, it's online orders only until later in the week, when curbside pickup will be introduced at about 8 locations in Grand Bahama and New Providence.
You can go to 700winesandspirits.com and click shop, and you can order from our selection of products. And we have 24 to 48-hour delivery process.
Retail Director Ron Hepburn said safety for them is paramount as they get business back up and running. One of their hot sellers, of course, beer. And as for consumers concerned about the shelf life of beer, Hepburn explains their process.
We have a policy within Heineken. We cannot sell any beer from this facility that is close to 90 days to expiry, right? So that is our protocol as per Heineken. Now, as for the beers that are already in the stores, normally we let customers know that, look, this beer is getting close to that date, and we put it on discount.
At Flying Dutchman, we met employees getting ready to begin their curbside and delivery services, completing inventory.
We're going to deliver the product to your doorstep. We're going to remove ourselves, and we're going to wait for the person to come out of the house or out of the building to pick up their package. We're going to ensure that they get it, and we're going to leave. Curbside service, same thing. You're going to pull up to the allotted slots with us, the Flying Dutchman logo and sign. You're going to wait for us to come out to you, pop your trunk. You put it in the trunk or your back seat, preferably your back trunk. Close the trunk and you go on your merry way.
Well, a number of other businesses also launched curbside and delivery services today. Berthany McDermott reports.
Residents flooded the streets of Nassau today looking to take advantage of curbside services that are now being offered by a number of businesses. Starbucks opened its Harbor Bay and Palmdale locations for curbside order and pickup today. Director of Business Development at John Bull Group of Companies, Inga Bowleg, explained the process.
When our patrons visit, they should expect that they can actually select a parking slot. We will come to your car with a handheld device and we would be happy to take your order, whether it's a food or beverage order. We'll take that at curbside, and within moments, your order will be delivered directly to your car.
Company President Frederick Hazelwood said he is pleased with the turnout.
These baby steps that we're taking to opening, we go along with them, we support them. You can't turn the key and let them all open at the same time, and it's quite understood. But we're very pleased to be able to do this.
AID is another business offering curbside pickup today. Residents we spoke to applauded the idea and said other businesses should adopt this process.
It's effective, and I feel like it's more safer for the people, because they don't have to come with their cars and they don't have to do too much contacting with one another.
I think it's nice because you don't have to tote a long line, and you get served quicker. It's better. It's much shorter because I've been parking on not even 5 minutes and I'm getting served.
Modernistic Gardens and Pet Supply in Palmdale was one of those businesses launching delivery services today.
We have set up a WhatsApp number, so you would just contact us, send us a text message at this number, and we will get your information from you, your GPS pin, what items it is you would need, and we do our best to assist you, like send you a picture to confirm what you want. Once we finish getting your order, we give you a quote, and then we would try to set it up for the next day. So if you order it on Monday, we send your order to you on Tuesday.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
The Ministry of Health reporting an additional case of COVID-19, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 84. The latest person to test positive for coronavirus locally is a 64-year-old New Providence man with no history of travel. Health officials say he is currently in home isolation. The number of deaths remains at 11. There are 25 recovered cases and 48 active cases. 8 people are in hospital with the virus. 1,446 tests have been conducted. Well, the governor of the Central Bank of the Bahamas revealing during his quarterly briefing this morning that the economy will not likely recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic until 2022. Giorgio Bain reports.
In 2022, the economy is expected to contract at a rate exceeding 8%, but won't recover until 2022, according to Central Bank Governor John Roll.
The 2022 is a point at which we think if a recovery begins at a very gingerly pace in the near term, given all of the public health safety concerns, it will take us until about 2022. And presuming that a vaccine is available for COVID-19, it will take us until about 2022 to be fully recovered. It is not to suggest that the recovery will not begin until that point.
Roll listed several measures that the bank is taking, including requesting the National Insurance Board to liquidate some of its external investments and to bring the foreign currency proceeds back on shore. He added that the bank is also prepared to take broader measures if the outlook justifies it.
By the mere fact that the economy would have had such large losses in 2020, we expect that in 2021, the level of economic activity could be collectively higher than in the present year, but not at the levels that would completely erase all of the losses that we are likely to incur this year.
According to Roll, the financial sector still has a stable outlook, with financial buffers exceeding international benchmarks. He added that the bank is taking the necessary steps to protect the Bahamian dollar.
Taking this approach, the central bank has targeted a reduction in the foreign reserves potentially exceeding $1 billion. This would place balances in the $800 million to $1 billion range by the end of 2020, still leaving adequate support in place to uphold the value of the Bahamian dollar fixed exchange rate.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Workers at the Lands and Surveys Department are appealing to management to provide personal protective equipment before they resume work. Staffers reported to work today, but they did not go inside, citing health concerns. Jillian Gray reports.
Employees of Lands and Survey stood outside their office refusing to go inside until they're provided with some sort of protective gear or safety protocols.
The building is the same way it was when we left. We came back in, there are no hand sanitizers in place, definitely no masks. no soap to wash our hands. We deal directly with the public, and in fact, the public was fully aware that we opened the day before we were, because we made public persons from the public here. And we have to deal directly with the public. So we definitely need that separation of some plexiglass in place in order to speak to the public to avoid having fluid exchange.
Moss said they understand that the country must begin to open up, but he said it should not be at the expense of employees. Along with plexiglass, the staff is advocating for masks and other protective gear. The shop stewards say it's important that management takes this time seriously, as many of the staff are at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19.
There's no do-over. COVID with some of us, and we have many persons who are high risk. We have many persons here who are hypertensive, persons who are diabetic. We have 1 or 2 members of staff who are 8.5 months pregnant, and we're all at work. And so we just need some clarity. We just need the issues to be addressed before we can just come in and go to work.
Moss added that their building is not designed for social distancing protocols, so some other mechanism must be put in place. BPSU President Kimsley Ferguson was appalled that there was no meeting for staff before they opened to the public, and said they will not enter the building until their concerns are addressed.
No meeting with the union or the shop steward to indicate what should happen, nothing with regards to the rotation of staff to ensure that there's the social distancing that is required by the COVID-19 protocol. And so this morning we're concerned, and we're going to be out here until we get to get the concerns addressed.
Ferguson said he spoke with the director at Lands and Surveys, who assured him that they are working on getting cleaning products and other protective gear. However, no timeline was given to the union president for the implementation of those safety protocols. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Well, a diabetic man says job uncertainty and poor health have left him in a poor mental state. Jared Higgs has his story.
46-year-old Ronald Hamilton wishes his diabetic condition was his biggest challenge in life.
I just trying to hold on and keep my job.
Hamilton suffers from hypertension, heart failure, and neuropathy. While vulnerable people are urged to stay indoors due to the risk of contracting COVID-19, Hamilton says he has to keep providing.
The house where I am at is 8 of us in here. And again, like I say, I'm the only breadwinner. So it's very hard for me.
Things got even harder when the pandemic struck. Relying on the bus system, Hamilton was laid off because he couldn't get to work. The sudden job loss left him in a terrible mental state.
I wanted to commit suicide.
With physical and mental health issues and employment trouble, Hamilton says he also has major domestic responsibilities. His wife is handicapped, and they have other unemployed family members living with them.
My wife has one hand. I have to wash, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to iron. Sometimes I have to walk to the wash house because, I don't have a ride.
Hamilton has endured multiple surgeries and traumatic events over the past few years. Back in 2016, he was shot during an attempted armed robbery with the bullet penetrating his arm and chest.
Shot here, the bullet went in through here, went in through there, and the doctors them take it out on top of my heart.
Earlier this year, the father of 2 had surgery on his foot due to complications from diabetic neuropathy.
The day that I came out the hospital, I had to work. I work around the yard, in the house. I had to push and push.
The husband and father says he was lucky to get a chance to go back to work recently, but he relies on Good Samaritans to give him a lift. When we interviewed him outside the Pinewood Gardens home he shares with his wife's family, he was exhausted after an overnight shift.
It's hard, and being sick is even worse, because now if I am down, then who is there to help? People don't see you're hurt, but then sometimes, you still have to thank God for everything, because I am still here. I am amongst the living and not the dead.
Ronald says his priority now is just getting to work. Without his job, he doesn't know how he's going to survive. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come, a chat with nurses on the front line. Stay tuned.
The Ministry of Education presents the Bahamas Learning Channel on Rev TV Channel 295, starting Wednesday, April 15th, where students across the entire Bahamas will have access to virtual learning for BJC and BGCSE taught daily by our teachers. Tune into the Bahamas Learning Channel, where education is in the click. And stay tuned for the Bahamas Learning Channel 296, launching soon.
No one understands the fight against coronavirus better than the healthcare professionals. Jerome Sawyer speaks with some nurses at Princess Margaret Hospital about the daily challenges they face on the front line.
This story was brought to you by Sun Oil Limited, fueling growth for people.
On March 15th, the first COVID-19 positive patient presented at the Princess Margaret Hospital. It meant that the country's largest and busiest healthcare facility had to now adopt new protocols and safety measures. Nurse Bernadette Smith is a dialysis nurse who volunteered for the COVID-19 duty.
With this being a critical time, you have patients who employees who may be scared to volunteer, and I enjoy helping, so this is just something that I really wanted to do.
While she's on a hiatus from the dialysis unit, she's a part of a core team of public healthcare nurses tending to the possible cases presenting at PMH.
Everybody asks me that question. I am not scared at all. There's a risk involved every day because you're working in the healthcare profession, so there's always a risk, but that's where you just have to stay protected, look over what you're doing, just making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do and doing it properly and effectively.
The list of COVID-19 healthcare workers has no set demographic or experience range. Nurse Wims spent 33 years as a critical care nurse. She's seen it all, except now, she says, patients are a lot more frightened.
You make them feel as comfortable as possible because they're very fearful. But what we go in and do is we give them whatever they need, psychological support, spiritual support. We help them to communicate with the family members when it is necessary and as much as possible.
Unable to live at home due to an existing condition with a family member, she recalls that in the beginning, she was shunned by her own family members.
Initially, I was a plague. I couldn't even turn in the yard. But now, I was able to sit on the bed, go into the house. Yesterday, I was allowed into the house. And I come and I said, once you adhere to the rules, you ensure that you clean, you wash up, you sanitize, you should be fine.
These nurses, while from different generations and specialties, represent some of the best and most dedicated in their field during one of the worst medical crises either of them has ever seen. Reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Thanks, Jerome. Well, though government has eased restrictions for some businesses, others, like the real estate industry, remain closed. President of the Bahamas Real Estate Association, Christine Wallace-Whitfield, says the industry should be considered an essential service. Jasmine Brown reports.
Wallace-Whitfield says she was surprised the Prime Minister's address did not look at the real estate industry, as she says it has been devastated by COVID-19.
The Bahamas Real Estate Association president says she was one of many people listening to the Prime Minister's address on Sunday afternoon, hoping to hear some good news about the real estate industry. But despite her attentiveness, Wallace-Whitfield says she was sorely disappointed to hear real estate would not be mentioned.
Very surprised. I sat on my couch and I was like, I had my paper and pen ready, and I was like, oh, okay, well, but I was surprised because I just think that real estate is essential. I mean, we are a service industry. We're trying to help, people out there relocate, just to continue with the economy.
She says she was especially surprised because the association had penned a letter to the Prime Minister asking him to take a look at restarting the real estate industry using strict social distancing guidelines.
We sent a letter in, yeah. Myself and a few of the directors, we kind of got together and we basically brainstormed. We explained why we should be essential, and then we also gave why, or the procedures in making it that we stay to the protocols and the rules set by the government.
As for why it's vital to have the real estate industry rebooted, Wallace-Whitfield says there are several reasons besides the fact that real estate agents are paid based on commission. She says despite the economic storm caused by COVID-19, there is a pent-up demand for sales and rentals. In addition to that, she says pending deals have been left unfinished.
Rentals, also people, looking for places to purchase. I mean, it's amazing how people are still, I think people are just trying to get back to some normalcy. And I think, people had the ideas of, and their plans of wanting to buy a piece of property, wanting to get a place to move in to live.
Wallace Whitfield says in addition to writing to the PM, the association has also written to health officials charged with overseeing the government's COVID-19 response. She says the association is willing to sit down and talk about their concerns and suggestions. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Still to come, how Scotiabank is assisting impacted clients. Stay tuned.
The Ministry of Education presents the Bahamas Learning Channel on Rev TV Channel 295, starting Wednesday, April 15th, where students across the entire Bahamas will have access to virtual learning for BJC and BGCSE taught daily by our teachers. Tune into the Bahamas Learning Channel, where education is in the click. And stay tuned for the Bahamas Learning Channel 296, launching soon.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Scotiabank offering a COVID-19 customer assistance program for those who may be strapped for cash. Director of Retail Banking, Naima Barker, said they are encouraging customers who can still pay their loans to keep up with payments. However, those who are in need of payment deferrals should contact the bank.
The program offers customers in the Bahamas payment moratoriums up to 6 months, 3 months initially, but an additional 3 months available to customers who may still be experiencing financial hardship. So just to further clarify, those customers with mortgages or home builder loan, customers with small business loans, we're asking them to contact us if they are interested in having those type of lending facilities deferred.
Barker added that customers don't need to prove financial hardship to benefit from the program, which runs until September 30th. She also encouraged business clients to contact them to discuss how they can assist with e-commerce options.
I know that a lot of our customers have worked really hard with their businesses. So those persons who are moving to an online space, or those customers who may have already well established themselves in the e-commerce space, have had an edge during this pandemic.
Meanwhile, Managing Director Roger Archer says if clients need to visit a branch, they have implemented protocols to keep both staff and customers safe.
The other thing that we've also done as well from a staff perspective is to limit the number of transactions in branch at any point in time, making sure that we have social distancing. That's also helped our staff to keep safe. We've also put plexiglass in place, and that plexiglass has presented a barrier between staff and customers. So we focus a lot on trying to make sure that we keep our customers and staff safe. We actually clean the branch after each transaction.
Still to come, a local athlete gets back to training. Stay tuned.
The Ministry of Education presents the Bahamas Learning Channel on Rev TV Channel 295, starting Wednesday, April 15th, where students across the entire Bahamas will have access to virtual learning for BJC and BGCSE taught daily by our teachers. Tune into the Bahamas Learning Channel, where education is in the click. And stay tuned for the Bahamas Learning Channel 296, launching soon.
Finally in news tonight, now that professional athletes are able to begin training again, one local pro isn't wasting any time. Marcellus Hall reports.
Well, yesterday, professional athletes getting some good news. They can finally return to the training fields of their choice in order to get themselves prepared for whenever things return back to normal. One local Bahamian athlete not wasting any time. He's already back on the beat. Professional basketball player and member of the Bahamas national team, Michael Carey, has been at home, unable to practice and keep himself in any sort of shape heading into what he thought was the beginning of the season. Now, with the Prime Minister relaxing restrictions on professional athletes, Carey wasting no time on getting back on track.
I know, we're Caribbean, so we don't really think sports is, it's not really essential, but, and my counterparts in America and in Europe, them guys are consistently working out, but, we're a small nation, so every death every death in our country matters, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, right now, I ain't complaining. You know, if we get 2 hours or hour, whatever it is, once we move in and I get out the house, it's going crazy.
Now for Kerry, the aim is to get in as best possible shape as he can in hopes that whenever the season gets started again, he'll be able to step back on the court as if nothing had happened.
I haven't really worked out since like March when I came from Switzerland. But I mean, you know, now, you know, I'm here. Jamal Wilson, Zane knows, you know, we here working out, and I just happy, man. You know, we finally get to move around and stuff like that. Off season, I kind of treat it like my off season. You know, like I said earlier, I kind of treat it like my off season. So it was like a month or 2 months, right? Like 2 months. So it was good enough. I won't have an off season in the summertime. But right now, everything at a standstill still. But we still got to be ready, because once the country opens, like once everything open up, them dudes had already lost a lot of revenue and stuff like that. So they're not gonna waste no time. You know, if let's say, you know, things open up fully, full force in August, that's when our training camp starts. So, you know, once it open up in August, them dudes ain't about to give us no time to be in shape and stuff like that. So the little stuff, the better, you know?
And we'll continue to check on our athletes as we always do. Meanwhile, I'm Marcellus Hall for our news. The weather is next.
Weather update is brought to you by Generali. Your health means the world to us.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the RevGo Play app. Have a good Monday evening, Bahamas.